Hello, everybody. This is the Wireheads podcast. We are on episode 18. Today, we are talking about Toggle's Temple. If you've come here from Diamond's side of things, if you're watching this on YouTube later, you'll notice that our box for the topic has not changed. That is because today's episode is all about Toggle's Temple. We are just deep diving this thing. It is the longest article that we have ever received for a Cyberpunk add-on, such as an interface bonus article or a DLC article. Where we left off with Diamond, we just got through the bows on her side. So if you've been following along on your DLC or would like to do so, I would highly, highly recommend starting back there, because we talked a bit about the stuff that comes at the front of the book. I'm covering the back half or so of this. We are halfway through page 11 of 25. And bear in mind, some of these later pages we will not need quite as long to get through, just because they are more condensable. But yes, I am Emmerron, and joining me as always is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dust. Nice to see you all.
Beautiful. All right. That is all. I'll say this here as well, because I said on Diamonds, but just so you all, if you watch it on my channel, I'm the first one you're picking this up from. Those of you who are listening on Spotify, or who sometimes listen on Spotify, they have added comments over there. So you can now comment on the show. And if you do want to submit your questions or topics that you want us discussing there, we can accept them that way now. Without me needing to add a Q&A to every episode, which is kind of nice. If you submitted a Q&A response previously to give us topics or questions, as I know we got a couple, we got like 2 of them if I recall correctly. Those were saved. I do have them. They are on our list, so we will talk about them, I'm sure, at some point in some fashion. But with that said, let us continue diving through Toggle's Temple. So on Diamond's channel, like I said, we left off on the bows, or at the end of the bows. So we are now starting on crossbows for me. So the first couple here are kind of like the bows on the other side. They're Eagle Tech. They're pretty standard stuff. They're kind of just what you get on the tin. The price you pay is pretty much exactly that. We've got the Eagle Tech Arbalist, which is an excellent quality crossbow with an installed smart gun link, and the Eagle Tech Scorpion, which is just a straight excellent quality crossbow. And then we continue that trend with the Eagle Tech Striker, which is a standard quality crossbow. The fun begins with the one that comes after, which is the Ventureware Mountaineer, Everest Ventureware Mountaineer. This thing is fun. I love this sort of thing. It is a standard quality crossbow that costs 200 eddies. And you might be asking, but Emmerron, what am I getting for that extra 100 eddies? I'll tell you, you get a grapple gun underbarrel, which is another new attachment we get in this DLC. I love this thing. I think it is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really feels like it's really good for spies or those that need to, keep quiet while doing their work, because, crossbows don't make noise when they're fired, or not a lot of noise when fired. And also you can zip around and stay out of sight with the grapple gun.
Right. Yeah, it's very, very good. The next ones we have, again, I think pretty much everything on the crossbows list, that's probably the most inventive of them, but even that one, I think you're paying equal price for what it would cost to buy the parts normally. Gunmart here is their Gunmart. You got the Gunmart Hunter, which is, I love the description on this one. Gunmart delivers the best, in air quotes, of both worlds with the Hunter, by combining the plasticized engineering you'd expect from a kid's toy with the deadly potential of an actual weapon. If that sounds good, you should probably grow a sense of cynicism about marketing. I love that. And then, of course, the Midnight Hunter, which the Gunmart Midnight Hunter is the same piece of junk as the Hunter, but comes with a night vision scope to make your dreams of hunting under the moon a reality. And that's it. That's all it is. 550 eddies, because that's what the night vision scope costs to attach to the top of a poor quality crossbow. So good. Yeah. So crossbows for this one, like having brand names to your crossbows, very cool. The fact that there are no outstandingly like special crossbows, because like at least with the bows, you have like things like the Arasaka Origami, and the Gunmart Hawkeye, which admittedly are the same one trick pony, but they at least have a trick, right? Like it's not like they're you can't get a easily concealable weapon without a tech, getting involved. So the fact that none of the crossbows had any little tricks up their sleeves, it's a little disappointing, I'll say. I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that that's the case. But yeah. Next after that, we have a little quote, which Diamond, I will offer you the same courtesy you afforded me on your side of things here. Would you like to take us through the Morgan Blackhand quote here?
Sure. On the street, there is no room for excuses, for hardware that doesn't work or equipment that doesn't perform. You can't demand a refund with a bullet. In the brain, and a lawsuit's... you can't... sorry, the way they have it written, it's just like it should stop there. It's like, you can't demand a refund with a bullet in the brain. And a lawsuit's pretty problematical when you've been parted out to the local body bank. You want the best weapons Euro can buy, because the alternative is the costliest of all, your life. Or your Blackhand in the Enforcer's Handbook.
It's a good one. So with that read, we now proceed into the grenade launchers. And these, thankfully, do have some fun choices. I really do like the grenade launchers here. So the first one is probably my favorite name that I have thus far seen. It's the Gunmart Porta Morta. It is a 600 eddy poor quality grenade launcher that comes equipped with a drum mag. So it is exactly what you're buying on the tin, but the Porta Morta, just the name is so good. It's so good.
And I'll say this is probably the only Gunmart weapon I would buy.
Yep.
Because drum magazines cost $500. Mags, or the grenade launcher itself would cost $500. So that should be $1,000 normally. This is $600. So you get a drum magazine with a, $100 grenade launcher.
Well,
poor quality grenade launcher.
No, this is what you're buying this for what it is on the tin. Because it's a poor quality grenade launcher. So that's 100 eddies normally. So there's 100 plus 500. So it's the same.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But also on top of that, it's just the fact that it's only expensive to source and all comes as one unit. Yeah. Now you can just, yank that and you got a backup grenade launcher if you must.
Yeah, it's not bad. Next we got the Militech Mini Grenade, just standard quality grenade launcher. We've got the Toa Manufacturing Type G, poor quality grenade launcher. Again, nothing too fancy. Now we get one that is a little more interesting, in my opinion. You've got the Toa Manufacturing Type G2, or G-Star 2, excuse me. The G-Star 2 is a standard quality grenade launcher. It can load 2 different types of ammunition. So it's like a double barrel grenade launcher that you can load a different grenade into each barrel and then fire them separately. And you can freely choose which of the 2 you want to use. It is incompatible with any magazine attachment. This is fun. 2 grenades, and you could just kind of decide which which one you want to fire when you've got it loaded. And then we've got, the next two are a little less interesting. We got the Tsunami Arms. So we do have an appearance from Tsunami Arms, which I don't think we've had yet.
Not since the Helix.
Right. So you have the Type 18 and Type 18S. The Type 18 is just an excellent quality grenade launcher. The 18S is an excellent quality grenade launcher that comes equipped with a smart gun link. So again, nothing too special, but it's there. It's good. It's not bad.
It's nice to see that Tsunami shows up.
Yeah, it's nice to see Tsunami, and that the G-Star 2 at least, again, like, if there were even one gun in the crossbows, or like one crossbow in the crossbows, that had a trick beyond just paying for what you got on the tin, I would be more in favor of it. But the fact that the G-Star 2 is that for the grenade launchers here, I'll take it, honestly. It's not terrible, and it costs no different than a regular standard quality grenade launcher. I would just have to look at the magazine sizes to see if it's got a smaller mag as a result of that.
It just holds 2 grenades.
Okay.
Like I the way I'm looking at this, because you can't get a different magazine in there, I'm thinking of this as just like a big, massive double-barrel shotgun that happens to shoot 40-millimeter grenade shells.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, that is, all good. It doesn't need to do anything more than that. The fact that you can just buy a standard grenade launcher for the cost of a normal standard grenade launcher, and it has a trick like that, very cool. Absolutely a fan of that. Because the thing is, you could treat it like a standard grenade launcher when you need it to be a standard grenade launcher, where you just load up, one type of ammunition in both slots, or you could split it, and then you can just do something with that, if you want to be prepared for a particular outcome or something. So now we come to the rocket launchers. Disappointingly, there are no rocket launchers in here. I was hoping that Artel Saurian would pick up what I was putting down with Season 1 of Neon Inferno, but apparently they didn't. So James, I'm disappointed, but that's okay. With that said, the rocket launchers are another one where we've got some fun stuff in here. We've got an appearance by Metacorp, which is very interesting. So they're the nomads that went corporate. And we know later on in the 2070s, they become a majority shareholder in a transport company, DTR, which is kind of like the UPS of the future. But we've got, their first gun here is the Metacorp Gila Smart Launcher, which is just a standard quality rocket launcher with a smart gun link for 1,000 eddies. Again, you're paying for what you get on the tin, nothing too crazy. The Militech Hotshot, excellent quality rocket launcher for 1,000 eddies, nothing special. The Militech Starshot LATG-M-N, which is an excellent quality rocket launcher that comes with an installed night vision scope. Again, you're looking at 1,500 for this, just paying for what's on the tin. And then the Militech Urban standard quality rocket launcher, Tawa Manufacturing Type R, poor quality rocket launcher. All of that has been meh. It's all good. It's whatever. We then, though, come to the trick. The trick gun here is Tawa. So Tawa Manufacturing Type R Star 2, which is a standard quality rocket launcher with a 2-shot capacity. It can load 2 different types of ammunition, and when firing it, the user can choose which one to use. Reloading it requires 2 actions, must be done over 2 turns, and it is incompatible with all magazine attachments. But it's 500 eddies, so just like with the G-Star 2, we have some choice here. And that could be worth it, especially because I am so sorry. If 2 rockets aren't enough to kill it, you're doing something wrong. 2 rockets should kill most everything.
Just right, Larry. 2 rockets should kill things.
And Diamond, by the second rocket being fired, that thing died. I remind you. 2 rockets was all I needed to kill that thing. The fact that the first one doesn't hit is nuanced and unnecessary. It doesn't matter. So, with that gun mentioned, that's the last of the guns. That does not mean we're done with the DLC. First, we have the attachments.
Oh, we did have a quote though.
Oh, we do have a quote. I'm so sorry. We have 2 actually here. By
Craig Sheely from Listen Up, You Primitive Screwheads. There is no such thing as a fair fight. Wherever there is armed conflict, it's either on your terms or on the enemy's terms. Someone always had an advantage, even if that advantage is minuscule.
Yep. It's very true. And the next quote that we're going to talk about after the attachments is probably one of my favorite ones in this whole book. Did they retroactively edit toggles? They didn't retroactively edit anything in here as far as I'm aware. They patched it, but they didn't. Yeah, I don't think they changed the material of what was in here. Yeah. So
all
the
that
2
was fixed was the count on the slots.
Yep, the 2 mod slots thing, Nyla, has been updated. Any standard gun now has 3. So if you don't have the most recent version, download it off the DLC page, because that's what I'm reading from is version 1.1. So if you have 1.0, it has been updated since then. But yeah, so the attachments. So in addition to all the ones in the standard, Cyberpunk Red Core rulebook, we got 3 new ones here. We got the Air Hypo Bayonet, which you could do some fucking great things with this. You could do some really demented evil shit with this thing. Some of you might immediately jump to, oh, well, I'll biotoxin them. Or, oh, I'll hit them with a dose of Veritas and make them tell me the truth about what they're doing before I blast them. I'm here to suggest that you're thinking too small. I ask that you consider, for the first blue glass, imagine what's going to happen when the guy you just charged and stuck with a air hypo starts flashing out in the middle of a combat zone. That's going to go real bad for them. That's probably going to give them a bunch of penalties, because all of a sudden everyone around them looks like demons. So thing number 1. Thing number 2 I'd like you to consider, if the guy you're charging is not a netrunner, this is very important for the follow-up here. The guy you're charging is not a netrunner. 6-gun is all negatives and no positives for anyone that is not a netrunner. Because if you stick them with it, they lose their reflex, dexterity, and their movement. All of those suffer a -2 penalty, like they were wearing heavy or medium armor jack, for the entire duration of that drug, which I believe, Diamond, if I remember right, is like 4 hours.
4 hours.
They're going to be a turtle on their back, unable to do anything. And if they were relying on the reflex raw to dodge you, they don't have a reflex coprocessor. You have now made it so they can no longer dodge bullets. You have also, even if they do have that reflex coprocessor, dropped their dexterity, so their evasion also just dropped. And if they're shooting at you, which most bad guys shoot at you, they're shooting less accurately now. -2 is a fucking huge deal, especially if you've stacked other negatives. So yeah, the Air Hypo Bayonet, very good. It's only 100 eddies, and it only eats a single upgrade slot, which is, it's great. It's real good.
And it's a drug-based twist on the standard bayonet. You won't break flesh with the attachment, so you cannot do damage. But still, I feel that this is a step up from the standard bayonet.
Yeah, because I mean, like, when am I going to use a bayonet compared to like almost? There's so many other attachments that I'd consider before a bayonet in most cases, right? Because a bayonet is what, Diamond? A light melee weapon?
Light melee weapon costs 100 eds and takes up a attachment slot.
Yeah, so this is just literally a straight improvement. Because in theory, you could reload it with another drug after you've depleted the first one. And while like technically you can reapply poisons and stuff like that to a light melee weapon, I mean, you could do the same with this, and this ups your variety. So like, unless you really think the 1d6 is going to be something getting through armor, why use this? Or like, why use a regular bayonet over this? And yeah, the bayonet can be used with any shoulder arm skill fired guns. All non-exotic range weapons fired with shoulder arms. So shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, all can equip this. Next, we have the grapple gun underbarrel, which is 100 eddies, can be fitted to any non-exotic crossbow or non-exotic range weapon fired with the shoulder arm skill. So this adds crossbows to the mix for this particular one, which is cool. I like it. But the one stipulation here is that if you're using a gun equipped with this for its grapple gun capability, you cannot use the weapon as a weapon while it's being used that way. So good to know about. And then finally, something you've all been waiting for, something that everyone in the community has talked tons about ever since I started playing this game.
Ever since 2020.
Oh my God. So many people talk about silencers. We have them. They can be used on any non-exotic, non-explosive ranged weapon, excluding bows and crossbows, which you have to assume are already basically, they work as though silenced anyway. So, like, oh my God. The silencers, so good. So how does it work, you'll ask? All right, this is how it works. Hearing a shot from a weapon equipped with a silencer requires a perception check against a DV determined by the GM. When determining the DV, the GM should consider the weapon's size, distance between the listener and the shooter, and any ambient noise. Silencers do not stop anyone from noticing damage from a bullet's impact, only the shot itself. So you might ask, Emmerron, what does that look like when I am a GM? And my response to you, dear listener, is the same thing it's always meant, Pinky. GM fiat. You get to make the choice.
So, I suppose, like, the way I've been ruling this so far. So, the most common thing I've seen silencers get put on is the handguns, all right? I mean, you know, it's classic. It's you know, looks like out of the spy movies and whatnot. Like, you know, even like Her Royal Majesty, you know, it's a pistol with a silencer on it. If you're like, you know, out in the combat zone, out in a cargo village, cargo villages, I care to think, are actually fairly noisy. You know, you got people hawking their goods, bustling about, doing their thing, construction going on. I'd say if you're beyond like that first range of you probably will just hear maybe a click or a little noise, but it's probably not even going to be enough to register that it's a gunshot. So I'd say, you know, it probably, you know, in order to absolutely recognize it, it would be like a DV-17 to recognize, oh, somebody just fired a silenced gun.
Right, which is like a trained professional. That's like a trained professional DV, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, to the common booster ganger, they're probably not going to really notice it.
Yeah. I also would probably agree with that judgment. And if you're like really close, like we're talking within 12 meters or so, where those like handguns specifically operate a little more effectively, then maybe it's a DV15 because you've got, you get a little more of the like the shockwave sounds, of that bullet leaving the gun. Because again, we don't have subsonic rounds in Cyberpunk, so it's assumed that it's still breaking the sound barrier when you're firing it, and it's mainly just quieting it. So like then that DV drops a bit, but again, bigger guns like shotguns or assault rifles, I would argue in the same way that Diamond was kind of qualifying the DV17s for pistols and stuff like that. Those probably are DV15s for the same sort of scenario for a larger shoulder arm, and a DV13 for those that are done at closer range. But again, I understand why they didn't provide us numbers for this, because I know I saw Shockey in your chat there, Diamond, saying like he wished that we would have gotten some hard numbers. But I understand, like, it's really hard to extrapolate numbers for something like this when they're asking for you as GM to consider a number of different figures. They would have been giving like a best fit average, and that wouldn't have been particularly useful, I think. And there would have been a lot of arguing around that. I think it's better to say I'm the GM and they've given me full carte blanche GM Fiat rules to rule this at my table. I would rather have GM Fiat carte blanche than to have to worry about like an argument breaking out my table. Like, well, I know the book says it's a DV15, but this other thing is affecting things, and then this other thing's affecting things, and now it becomes a discussion that we have to have for like 5 minutes or whatever to just figure out did the guy notice the gunshot or not.
Which, like, what I appreciate about it being GM Fiat, because back when I used to run Pathfinder, sometimes there were calls that, Pathfinder will say, okay, you take these things into consideration when you determine, the difficulty check for this. And it, like you said, Fiat carte blanche, it works well here.
Yep.
And it allows you, the GM, to possibly make things a little bit more favorable, or even maybe non-favorable for the party. Or it does give the party an idea. For example, a trained expert who hears it, and the party isn't expecting it, it's like, oh, we're dealing with someone who knows what they're dealing with. Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that there's not hard numbers, but at the same time, I can understand why some people want hard numbers.
Right. I always think in cases like this, it's always a really fine balancing act, right? Because it's like, yeah, getting hard numbers when we can get them is always better than not having them at all. I have always thought, though, that like, something where that it asks for more than like 2 factors to be considered, that it gets really hard to like set a scale. Because like, if all you're asking for is 2 factors, then you're like, okay, well, if factor 1 is ideal, but factor 2 is complicated, then you can modify that DV pretty easily. And if both are complicated, then you just double modify the DV. But like, when you've 3 or more factors confounding something like that, it starts to get troublesome to apply that logic. Because you as the GM then are kind of, having to manually figure out like, okay, well, like, is this complicated? Is that complicated? Whatever, like, does this DV still even begin to make sense? It's just easier to tell the GM, set the DV based on these things, based on what you feel's appropriate and is right for the scenario that you've, that your player's using this within. I prefer that anytime. But that's the end of the items. So now we come to, I think what I honestly think is like quite possibly the best part of the new DLC. We have The quote first, yes.
I was like, what? The quote's the best part of the DLC?
No. The gunpath is, but the quote is very good. To be fair, this is probably Porky is probably my second favorite. This would be my first. So the quote here is, "The GI dunno puts all his points and energy into reaching and maintaining the maximums for his character, mainly the physical attributes, the special abilities, and the combat skills. The GI dunno is fairly easy to defuse because his characters are almost useless in any other situation except for combat. The player will eventually realize that his character needs more useful skills to become an active participant." That is Eric Heiserer, I think is how you pronounce that, from Listen Up, You Primitive Screwheads. So now we come to the best part, which is the gun path. In chat, we are going to run the gun path tonight. We are going to come up with a Wireheads gun. We're going to figure out exactly what this thing is for a manufacturer. So, I have a D100 right here. I have my percentile dice. They're
Okay.
cyberpunk themed.
Yeah, I've got my dice in front of me.
Beautiful.
Black with red numbering on them.
You got the black with red, and I've got the black on yellow. I've got the 2070s edition. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna roll my percentile here. Let's see what manufacturer we're working with. So that is a 26. So that means we're working with Cadrian Arms. Interesting.
What, do we not have that much of a budget?
I mean, it doesn't say that they have any quality notes.
Like, what does Wireheads not have?
I guess not. I guess we're just kind of fucked. That's okay. So Diamond, why don't you make the next roll for me? Roll a D10.
All right, D10. We have number 2.
A heavy pistol. That's appropriate, I think. Something we can use.
Yeah. Also something I highly recommend to all new players.
Yeah, I mean, all net runners definitely, I think, should have a heavy pistol. It's really good. And then, let's see. So the base cost is 100, and that doesn't change. Awesome. Next up, I'll roll for the quality, which is on a D6. A 1. We are making a poor quality heavy pistol. Very fun. Kind of in line with Cadrian Arms from what we've seen. So next we're going to see about attachments. Diamond, roll me a D6.
A 5.
We've got a smart gun link on there. That's sick. Okay, cool. Poor quality, but smart gun linked. And then, so yeah, we don't need to worry about all the rest of this because all of this is just based on the skill it's fired with. Now for the weapon name. Diamond, could you roll me a D100?
We have a 32.
32. So the name is a noun and a deadly animal name. So now we have to, so chat, this is where you guys come in. First, I want to see what is our noun. Give me some ideas. We'll put it to a vote. I want to see what noun are we using for this thing. Remember, kids, a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. In case you're an idea. Or an idea, yeah. Person, place, or thing. I think ideas count as things. Generally, it's mostly stuff you can touch or, at the very least, interact with independently. All right. We've got Jester Girl coming with chair. Awesome. Come on, guys. I know there's enough of you out there. Door. Box. Okay. Cake. She,
Nothing from my end yet, it seems.
oh my!
Unless everybody's over there on your side, Emmerron.
Yeah, they're over here. They're over here. All right. Well, I've got five options in here. Let me.
We got Pickle from Talking Sparks.
Okay. So we've got some choices, and I'll substitute that pickle in for one that Jester Girl suggested of mine that is not TOS compliant. Let me go ahead.
Everwhite.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. So I'm gonna do /poll. Question.
Trouser snake in chat.
What noun do we use? We had chair, door, cake, pickle, and Diamond. Can you see which the fifth one was? Box, I think, was it?
Yep.
Okay.
Box.
Cool. So chat, you can use your channel points for the next. We'll put this up for 2 minutes because I don't think we'll need that long. So I have put that up. It is on my channel. If you are watching on Diamond's, if you zoom over to mine, you should be able to do so through the link in her description. Go ahead and vote with your channel points. We are going to decide which noun we are going to use for this lovely, poor quality, smart linked heavy pistol. Multiple votes are allowed because channel points are the thing you're voting with. Oh boy. We got a battle between door and pickle. What an interesting dichotomy. What on earth? Oh, we hold on. Suddenly we have a couple votes for box. It is in distant third at the moment, but it is there. Oh my god. Door is doing a thing. Door is doing a thing. I am very curious. Suddenly chair comes in. Chair suddenly gaining. Wait, what is happening? This poll is so interesting. We have a tie between Pickle and Door. Pickle takes the lead suddenly. Coming down to the wire. Get your votes in, people. Door and Pickle are neck and neck. The others are all kind of distantly hanging out behind. Door just got a massive fucking boost out of nowhere. Door is our noun, officially. All right. Diamond, thank you for your 2,600 channel points.
You're welcome. I threw them in like different categories across the board.
Yeah, Door is taking it. Door is taking
Just
it.
Random spread to each of them.
I love it. All right. So now I'm going to start another poll. This time, well, no, we're not going to do a poll yet because I actually need feedback. All right, guys. So next up, we've got a deadly animal name. So we have the door something, right?
Snake.
Jesus Christ. All right, snake is the obvious one. With what you guys are throwing out there. Yep. Snake, puma, leopard, Harambe. Harambe wasn't deadly.
Harambe was not deadly.
We don't count that.
Look, all I'm saying is everything started going to shit back when Harambe died, all right?
That is truly where we deviated from the good timeline. Snake, leopard, and puma are the three I've got so far. He deserved the chance. You know, I will allow for Harambe to exist in the chat. I will put Harambe in the poll.
Oh my god.
I will throw Harambe in the poll. Because the thing is, whether or not he was deadly when he was shot, he had the capacity for it. And I'm not going to deny him that. And if he can't get his vengeance on the side of some smart pistol, you know, what kind of justice is there in the world? Gorilla, okay.
No, I feel like in the case of Harambe, it would need to be on the side of a sniper rifle. And Valk is looking at me very, very... she seems to just, like... You look as if this is the most casual conversation you've ever heard, Valk.
This is so good. All right. So, chat, here comes another poll for you all. All right, so which deadly animal is our gun named after?
Something.
So we had gorilla, we had puma. I will more specifically put Harambe. We have snake. We had crocodile, which I was a big fan of. And I think that's all of the things that I can put in here. Yeah, I think
something phallic muscle for Harambe. Anyway.
God damn it. All right. Again, chat, it is up on my channel if you would like to vote. Harambe already has a vote. Use your channel points. Make your vote known. I want to see opinions. This is going to be the patented Wireheads discount pistol that you can pick up at a vendor near you.
I feel like Harambe should be on the side of a sniper rifle. I don't know. I feel it's a little ironic. It'd be a little funny.
Look, but see, this is the thing. A sniper rifle you wouldn't use at a door. This is the door Harambe. If this gets named the way that we're lining this up. Door won the first poll. And it goes noun, deadly animal name. Crocodile's doing some business. All right. So the toss-up this time seems to be a lot of people really like Harambe.
I mean, who does not like Harambe?
I mean, that's truly... I have a shot glass downstairs that says, take a shot for Harambe. He took one for you. And I pull that thing out at every opportunity I get to take a shot with friends. It's so good.
All right.
We're still going. Harambe's really got a lead here, though.
Oh, Puma's like at a few votes. I have spread my votes across every category.
I appreciate that. All right. All right, we're coming down to the absolute wire here, guys. Any last minute votes? Last minute votes? Last minute votes. Nope. All right, cool. We officially have the, because I need to scroll back up to the brands here because I need to remember how to pronounce this one.
The Cadron Arms Door Harambe.
The Cadron Arms Door Harambe. It is a smart gun linked, poor quality, heavy pistol that you can buy for, I believe it is 550 eddies, if I remember correctly.
A poor quality gun as a joke made in poor taste.
Yeah. See, 100 eddies standard does not decrease from premium to expensive as less than, but adding okay. Yeah. So this is an expensive, poor quality, heavy pistol. The Cadron Arms Door Harambe. And if we did want to unmemify it, the second place there is the Door Crocodile, which the Door Croc is also not a bad name. That is, I will give that full credit.
Honestly, the Door Croc sounds actually pretty good.
The Door Croc does sound pretty good.
I understand we're talking about croc like as in crocodile.
Yes.
But part of me is thinking it's made of that, it's like croc foam orange.
What do you mean croc foam orange? What?
You know, like Crocs. You know,
like
orange
the shoes.
Crocs. Yeah, the shoes.
Okay. I didn't know those had a unique like tone of orange.
Like, okay, whenever I think of Crocs, they're orange. They're like this very weird, like not quite safety yellow or safety orange.
Yeah.
I don't know, door snake sounds like a very pervy thing. Oh my god.
Door snake does sound like a pervy thing. See, the real funny thing is if we had pickle snake, which would have been you were entendreing all over that. It's not even funny. It's a pistol. Yeah, no, that's we don't need that. We really don't need that.
All I'm saying though is the door Harambe hits hard like a gorilla. It won't miss like what happened to Harambe.
Pistol pickle snake. Yeah, exactly. The Cadrian Arms pickle snake heavy pistol. Oh my god.
What the fuck is? All right. So, I suppose one other last thing I would like to note is I think this is like the largest amount of weapons I think we've received in any supplement whatsoever.
Yes.
So, like, for those of you that are bellyaching that, oh, we don't get enough weapons. You got weapons.
We do.
You have so many weapons. You will not be able to go through all of these weapons.
There's so many weapons that the last 6 pages are just the like concise tables for showing what every gun in this DLC is sorted by type. There are 6 pages to wrap up everything that the rest of the DLC covers. It's insane. It is insane. So many fucking guns in this. It made me very happy to see. I am very, very grateful that Artel Sorian finally got things together to create a list this long. Of again, mostly, I think a fair number of these, the majority, I would say, are 2020 guns that have just found new life in Red. So I like it. Big fan. But yeah, that said, that's the end of the DLC. So I don't know if there is anything else we want to say about this diamond. I know we're like about 13 minutes off of the hour mark we normally shoot for, but
well, be ready for when the dolphins invade, I guess.
Yeah, be ready for when the dolphins invade. Get your that's why you want your door Harambe by Catering Arms today. So when the dolphins attack, you do not want to be caught lacking.
It comes with a complimentary subscription for 1 month to Wireheads.
Yeah. We have a subscription. What?
I don't know. But Q&A?
Yeah, we can toggle to Q&A. So
oh boy. Toggle to Q&A. Sorry. I find it amusing. That is all. I've tried to find joy in the amount of bad feels I've produced tonight.
Oh, man.
Yeah, guys, I killed another cast member today, or not cast member, but player character today.
It was a very emotional final gig. That's why I'm wearing a collared shirt tonight. I normally I don't do this, but tonight I had to. If I'm playing my last gig as an exec, I might as well, or at least for now, last gig for now as an exec, I might as well look the part. So our Q&A so far is a little thin this week. We've got 2 questions so far. So again, chat, if you're watching live and you would like to ask questions of us, whether it's related to the DLC that we just covered or anything else related to Cyberpunk Red, you may submit those down in our chats. If you're watching this later on YouTube or Spotify, again, Spotify has a nifty new comments feature. where you can add a comment to that. I will be able to see it because I'm kind of the admin for that part of our podcast, and I'll add that to our Q&A list. But if you put it below either of our YouTube links that we'll have for our half of today's episode, you can respond there as well. And we will be more than happy to add those to the list and get to them in either the next week that we see them, or a future week if we somehow run out of time on a given week. But yes, we will talk about your Q&A. We will add any topics you want to see us discuss to our long list of topics, future topics, I should say, that we want to talk about. So yes. Anyway, with that, let's dive in. So the first question that I saw, this was one Nyla asked in my chat earlier. Can a tech invent a martial art?
Well, that's the thing. Martial arts don't really have like an actual like monetary value or like actual parts, pieces, and other shit like that.
Right.
I don't know. I don't feel that that's something that can really be set there.
Yeah, I would say tech, no. That said, I would very much allow a player to create a custom martial art if they see one that doesn't exist in the game with rules as of yet, and be able to expand that into something that I would be very okay with. I know we had a bunch of martial arts in 2020 that have not been ported forward to Red yet. One that I've jokingly heard a lot of people talk about is Gun Fu.
Gun Fu.
Good old Gun Fu. We also know that by the time of the 2070s, Arasaka has a martial art that they're teaching in malls around Night City. And so what that looks like would be kind of interesting to investigate. As with most things, though, I think it's possible for either a player, their character, or some interplay between those two kind of things. Sure, you can invent one. Why not?
Just with considerations from your GM as well.
Yeah, and your GM gets final say on all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, martial arts like science is another one of those that's like, it's a theory-based skill, right? So, like, as long as your character understands the theory behind what they're doing, technically they can learn anything in those categories. It just comes down to then, like, your GM just need to give you, approval for, like, that your proposed special moves and stuff that the martial arts skill you're going to then be using resolves fairly, And I just got another question. I believe, Diamond, the next question came from your chat.
Yeah, this came from somebody that was asking about this more because it may impact one of the campaigns I also run. So they were wondering how to start up a Neocorp. So they're playing an exec who's part of a new founded Neocorp, and they're like one of the higher ups in the chain, but like not higher up as in they're starting with higher level stuff. It's just more they're at rank 4 exec at that point. How does one start up their own business though? I suppose that might be a better question.
I mean, the exec I played in Diamond's game worked for a corp that didn't exist before I brought it onto the scene, which is Greengrass Corporation. My biggest advice, if you're going to do that, is just get creative. Ask your GM for plot threads that might be helped along, because they're going to probably have some ideas about, at the bare minimum, a spot in the plot where your character could have a place that they kind of snap into place openly. Because like Diamonds played an exec at my table before working for Neighborly Insurance, which was like a crime front for one of the fixers. So
definitely not a shell company.
Definitely not a shell company that was covering up all the embezzlement and shit he was doing. But that sort of a thing can happen, or you, the player, can just come up with like, this is the type of corporation I want my exec to work for. It's part of your life path, role-based life path as an exec, to figure that out, what kind of a corp you work for. So I'd say, when in doubt, use that as guidance, and from there figure out what you want that corporation to look like, what you want their goals to be, what kind of merchandise you want them peddling, all that kind of stuff. I think that these are all good options.
Yeah, and like the way the question was directed to me originally, before I brought it here, I think I didn't word it quite correctly. What about starting your own business as an edge runner? Picking this up as, something that you're working towards.
I mean, that's tricky. That's really tricky.
I think probably one of the best ways I've seen it handled was Njali. I'm an advocate for homebrew, make it your own. Njali had a really good one for like talking about starting business, because reading over it, it's not a cakewalk by any means. You are dealing with a lot of external factors as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's always something where like making your own when it's outside of exec character creation is really tricky, because it's like new corporations don't spin up out of nowhere. Obviously, you're dealing with a lot of things like capital, employees, registering for space within the city separate from your own housing. And it's far more likely that what you start doing as an exec is at the character creation point. If you didn't make your own corporation that your character is part of, then more likely what you're going to have to do is work your way up through exec ranks as like a role rank up. It's because generally it's only once you're like in the upper levels of exec that you even have like any kind of controlling power for the company. There's something to be said about that. Because as we've been told many, many times, if you are playing Cyberpunk Red to run a business and like that's the way you're playing the game, you're no longer playing the rules that the game creators really designed for you. You're playing a different game at that point. So yeah, it gets tricky where that in particular is concerned.
One way I could see approaching this, maybe instead of like trying to run it like small corp, maybe having your own shoal of piranhas, and business for you is pushing drugs. Mm-hmm. That's some of your missions specifically that you might need to hire your party out to do to help you with your business. Might be, all right, guys, I need this very specific ingredient to make a certain kind of blue glass for an upcoming party, and it's a big order.
Yeah, because like what was the reskin for exec? Mafioso or something like that?
Mobster.
Yeah, Mobster. Yeah. So I mean, like, that would almost be the approach you'd have to take, I think, if you're building it from the ground up. Because what you're really doing is you're trying to like make your own racket off the dust of the street. So if you want it to be like a proper functioning corporation within the city, more likely than not, either you work with your GM to come up with a corporation that already exists within the city that you then start taking ranks of exec as a member of, or if you're building your own, I mean, it's more likely going to look like a crime family. If you're playing a game that's still kind of, or like a version of the game that's still kind of compliant with what it was designed for, its design purpose.
Corporations and crime families, what's really the difference?
Yeah, right.
So I could see it very much more. You're handling business on the street, and your business is very much, not so much corporate, but you're doing what the street, you're giving the street what they want.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's probably hopefully that's given some ideas to you, whoever asked that. But yeah, I think the strongest way to create a neocorp is to do so at character creation when you build your exec, because, and this is the kind of important thing I didn't say yet. Once you're a high enough rank, you have people under you that are loyal to you within the company. And if you did want to go off and spawn your own company as part of ranking your exec rank up, then like you could theoretically do that. No one's stopping you necessarily. Because then you're kind of tearing some of the infrastructure out of your old corporation to a new one. Like that would, in my mind, work out all right. But you're not going to start like at rank 1 as an exec multi-role and be like, I'm founding a neocorp. And you're like, that won't work. Like, that just won't work. No shot.
You'd be better off, doing this as very much more. And I mean, I guess family business might be a thing that you have, that it's just like, sure, the place you rent out, where you're living, stuff that you and your siblings do, it's business, but you probably won't have a base of operations for a while.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. All right. So Diamond, yeah, and then this next one was yours as well, I believe.
This one's an interesting one, partially because I wasn't the only one that was going to ask this one, because I was going to bring this question up because I feel like many GMs should actually have this discussion. But sure. I had another GM ask me about this. How does one handle bleed at the table? Now, to clarify, bleed, Emmerron, do you know what bleed is?
I have the general, like, I'll be interested to hear your definition of it. My understanding, though, is like when something happens in a game, it bleeds off of your character and into you, and can affect you emotionally. It has an impact on you personally, and it sticks with you outside of the confines of whatever game it was presented in.
That, and also bleed sometimes can be where there's a blur between your real life and what's going on the table. That an event that may happen at the table hits a little too close to home. So both are within the camp of bleed. And when it comes to handling bleed sometimes is not an awful thing that might happen, because maybe your players are walking away from the table with new perspectives. But because like looking at this, the GM that was asking me, like the few times that it's happened where players have taken experiences from the table and it's kind of impacted them directly, it's been positive. But I'd say to help handle negative bleed, something that I often do is I will check in with my players when things get a little too serious, a little too real, maybe a little too personal. And you have to check and see, like, maybe new lines or new veils were formed that is just like, okay, we need to step away from this, or we need to veil this right away. And that is something that can be done, and always aftercare is a must. Take time to sit down with players that might need it to, kind of discuss what happened at the table. It always needs to be clarified, though, that like the actions taken by characters don't normally reflect the players, but it may also be another thing where you as a player may be affected a little bit more directly by what happens in game, that you gotta have that discussion.
Yeah. I think a lot of things, because bleed as a concept is something that I'm like, bleed as a defined concept, I should say, is something that I'm less familiar with. I don't think I've really ever called it by that name until like much more recently. That said, I've definitely dealt with cases of this around the table. This is the nice thing. This is part of why I really like Cyberpunk, as opposed to a bunch of other game systems, is its rules that are well-defined are really well-defined. So it doesn't require nearly as much GM fiat to figure out what the right and wrong answer for a situation is, right? Its pass-fail is laid out pretty directly. And there's a lot fewer complicating and confounding factors that some player can bring up after a fact and just say, wait, I had this thing and you didn't account for it. And then when you still tell them, well, no, that doesn't work. I don't know. I find I have a lot less of those arguments in Cyberpunk compared to other games I've played with more complex rule systems that have a lot more at play in a regular check. Because what I find when I've seen the greatest amount of negative bleed, it's less been around role play, and it's far more been around like, two people at the table getting heated with each other because one of them did something that fucked the other one over because they're the way the rules of the mechanics like interlinked up for the situation, just left one guy able to do all the cool things and the other guy just got boned, like they just literally couldn't do anything. So like that's generally where I've seen a lot of it just comes back to your conflict resolution. Like, remember that as the GM at your table, if you are ever getting the vibe that something is off, right? Even a little off. Like Diamond said, it's never a bad idea in those moments to stop for just a moment and say, all right, so before we continue, I know that last scene was kind of a lot, or, we had some things come up in that last scene that got a little heated. Is everybody okay? Like, do we need to take a quick break to let our heads cool, get some water, whatever? There is no shame in telling your players, like, we're going to take 5 and we're going to come back to this when everyone's heads have leveled out and cooled down a little bit, right? If there's a particularly stressful situation that has come up in the game, it's never a bad idea to, once the stress has kind of passed, the scene is closed, to stop before come to the next beat and saying like, hey, are we still good to continue? I think that that's the best way to address most negative table interactions, is just like pause, reflect, and then once you've confirmed that everyone is okay to continue. That's always probably best policy in my opinion. And I don't think you would disagree with me on that, Diamond.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that. Usually for me, like any cases where bleed may have gotten intense, there has been a time I did have a player that it was never marked like in their lines and veils because it was probably just an unexpected occurrence. I was running, and this was more with Blade Runner, where this came up, and I was running Electric Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, while it was not something that was like very personal to them that it happened to them, you know that one very big content warning that they do have for that mission that
yes,
so when that scene happened, because this was actually like when I ran this mission, this was like just apparently freshly after something happened in their area. at a location where these things really should not be happening.
Sure.
I kind of listened, and you can sometimes hear it in your players' voices when something's off. So I put the pause button on for everybody, and I was like, all right, so are we okay? Do we need to talk about it? And players like, yeah, I didn't expect something like that to be that intense. All right. 1 second.
What? Yeah. No, and I think that's like, again, especially if you're using like a lines and veils or something similar where like you utilize like active safety tools at your table. Definitely don't be afraid to like, I remind my players at the start of every game that I run for like strangers, especially like, hey, if at any point, like I genuinely don't like leaning into the really dark stuff, but there are times where I'll be narrating a scene and something might come up that could be problematic for you or your sensibilities. And I may not know that until we come to that. You may not know that until we come to that. So if there are any times where that happens, do not hesitate to stop me. Tell me, hey, that is a problem topic. And I need to, add that to my veils or to my lines or whatever. Because I keep a document for those games typically, like to note that like, okay, this is a problem. Yeah. So if it would come up again, to just avoid it, that is a thing that I keep active note of. And I would encourage any GM who's concerned about using those safety tools to their fullest to do the same. Because that's like a really critical part of making sure your players are having a good experience.
All right.
Yep.
And what's our final question?
Yeah, so the last one here, and we got about at least like 18 minutes based on my recording timer here. Do you think that with the 2070s era content being introduced to the game, there might be a divide in the player base between 2070s and red players in terms of like the era?
Hey, I remember this conversation you and I had before CMK released.
Right. Here's my full take on this. And Diamond, we've talked about it, so I think I know what your thoughts are. Yeah. But but I'm not really throwing you under the bus, but I'm like, I'll be interested to hear if your thoughts have changed in the last month here as we kind of had this. But I know for me that I feel like this isn't really going to be an issue, because at the end of the day, we're playing the same system. We're not really playing a different system, right? It's like, this is not the divide between like 4th edition and 5th edition D&D players. This is the divide with, well, what backdrop do you prefer this set of rules be played with? Because the rules just they're not any different, really. The handful of rules that get modified by the era because of things like scarcity or the lack thereof, that's the only meaningful difference between the two eras. Everything else, they even say like, hey, the reason we have all the gear and rebuilds and stuff in the back of the rule book is so that you can backport it to the time of the red. Because if they exist in the 2070s, there was a point at which someone had to make this in the past. So it's not infeasible that like, you could go to a tech and potentially that tech has worked on the prototype or what would become standard smart rebuilds, right? Or tech rebuilds. Mm-hmm. So to answer the core of the question, no, I don't think that there's going to be this massive divide between players. I think for a time, we're going to see a lot of interest in the 2070s because I think it's what more people are familiar with. And as of right now, it is the only starter kit that we have that isn't easy mode. which is fine. Like, I think easy mode's a great product. We've talked about it plenty here on the podcast on each of our channels. Easy mode's a great product to get new players interested in the game, to learn the rules and all of that. But the moment you want to extend that beyond the free adventure in the back of that book, which is relatively simple because, again, it's a free product, the first thing you're going to look for is a starter kit. Well, what's the only starter kit we have? Cyberpunk Edge Runner's Mission Kit, which takes place in the 2070s. Jumpstart Kit does exist, but the rules contained in it are outdated. So until we get something that is an updated starter kit for the Time of the Red specifically, any new player looking to buy a starter box kit is going to be buying into the Edge Runner kit. And so we're going to see a bunch of 2070s players that spark up around that. But if they want to interface with the game beyond that really, really simplistic way, they're going to buy the Red Core rulebook. They're going to learn the Time of the Red to a certain extent because that's all the core rules we have. They're all based out of that. So yeah, that's my opinion. I don't think that there's going to be this really hard divide between the two camps. I really don't. I think that there's going to be people like me who want to slide between them. Like, I don't really care in particular for one camp or the other. I want to explore the in-between. I want to get into the 2060s and see what's there. I think that that's really the part I'm most interested in. But I like all of it. I think that the scarcity economy of Red is awesome. I think that a lot of the tech from the 70s is also really cool. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of players who want to see all of what it has to offer, and they're not going to limit themselves to one or the other.
All right, so I actually had a little bit of a concern with this, that, you know, yellow Cyberpunk was going to come rolling in here and just, well, this is selling better than Cyberpunk Red. Goodbye, bozos. And, well, you know, that worry was quashed when we were talking about it with Jay. Because that was actually a question that was brought up, that, you know, now that the 2070s stuff is getting phased in, were we going to be having to deal with, you know, the possibility of Time of the Red getting phased out? Jay said there's still so much more to be done with, you know, Time of the Red. I suppose one of my biggest worries, though, that comes with 2070s versus Red is we're going to have players, you know, coming in from the 2070s kit, and they're going to want to jump into Red, and they're going to come to a table like mine, where, you know, I am very much a fan of the Time of the Red, partially because Dia herself was, you know, created in Time of the Red, molded by it, if you will, and things are different. We don't have quick hacking. We don't have tech weapons. We don't have power weapons yet. You know, now I'm not saying that you can't have them. You're gonna have to invent the kit, and you'll have to, you know, find time, research, and get the stuff to make this happen.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the fucking BMG 500 as a fucking power weapon. Ooh. All the ricochet.
All the ricochet.
All the ricochet. But one of the things that I was thinking about with it, I think the 2070s kit is a good landing pad for those that are coming over from Cyberpunk 2077, because as we know, the development of the game is over in that specific spot, and, you know, we have people that are a fan of the anime. They come in there, but at some point they are going to have to pick up the core rulebook. Like, yep. you can't advance without the core rulebook, and I doubt they're going to make a whole core rulebook for the 2070s era. You're going to have to go get the 2070. Well,
they're going to come up from what we know. We're going to get like a scenario, or like a what do they call it? Source book for the 2070s. At some point, we don't know when. Yeah. We know one is in the works. That'll come with some more full rules for some of the 2070 stuff. But even for something like that, you're still going to need the red core rulebook probably to drive that. It's mostly going to be like those of you, I think I've shown it here on the stream before, and it's buried under another pile of books next to me here, but the Night City source book from 2020, all that thing was a guide for like, this is Night City. Here is all of the stuff contained within the city. Here's like the notable landmarks. Here's the notable buildings. Here's all that. That's, if I had to guess, that's more what we're going to get out of the 2070 source book. Plus
like
a handful of extra rules for things like net running, probably some extra gear, but like we're probably looking at the majority of that already being in the CEMK as it currently stands.
Probably one of the smallest areas that I could see a possible hard divide. Quick hacking, yes, it's a fun little gimmick. I don't like quick hacking. I really don't like quick hacking. I
think it's fine. I think it's balanced well enough that it's not a problem.
It is balanced, but I don't know. It doesn't quite, get my goat the way normal, jacking into the net and diving in does.
Yeah, but I think that's maybe going to change a little bit as well once we get like the full 2070 rules on like dive net running, like the deep dive net running. Because you don't get one without the other, obviously. Because like you could do some of that in the time of the red, sure, but you'd be like much more out in the open ocean a little bit with regards to like the old net is just there and it's not really walled off at all.
Yeah, and like my thoughts with it is I guess where netrunners, like right out the gate, you have to pay for your netrunner tax right out the gate in the time of the red, but you're able to get a little bit more done with your net running there compared to quick hacks where you got a few quick hacks you could pull at rank 4, but any of the super substantial ones you're gonna it'll be a mess. And I'm not saying just because it works in a video game doesn't mean it works. It works. The 2077 kit has proven quick hacking does work.
It does.
Hell, I pulled off a system reset. But one of the things it does encourage now is netrunners have to have luck.
We always needed luck,
always
though.
have.
We always needed luck. Yeah.
If you were a netrunner running on 2 luck, I'm sorry, dude, why?
I've done that for a long time. And I realize now the error of my ways. Because you don't think about, I think it initially, right? You don't think about how many net running skills, like slide, don't have a bonus, or virus even does not have a bonus from a booster that you can just buy. So having luck to counter it, very good, very powerful. Yeah,
I guess I could see why some of these kids are gonna enjoy doing some quick hacking. I might just be some old bag that just prefers to do it the old-fashioned way. Get in, take over their turrets, call it a day.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's call for both. Obviously, stealth net running is not going to employ quick hacks nearly as much because most of your quick hacking that currently exists in the 2070s, I think Lure is just about the only stealth quick hack that we currently have.
Yes, however, you gotta bypass getting noticed.
Sure, and that is also true. So I mean, it's one of those things where like stealth net running is much harder to do when you're looking at quick hacks. So like if you're a stealth net runner, your main goal is still what it always was, which is get into their network, get into their active defenses like their turrets, take them over, and then use them like you would any other gun from the safety of a closet or something where they can't find you easily. That is just about your best choice. Yeah, and it always will be. I mean, like, that's kind of the thing. So, yeah. I truly believe that it'll just come down to, like, how much people like the things Netrunning provides for the 2070s. Because in my opinion, that is the only really, like, between that and the fact that you can buy at double the price economics for things beyond your normal reach. If you like the economics and the Netrunning systems of the 70s, you might want to play in the 70s more. If those aren't things that really appeal to you as much, or you do like the access economy of the Time of the Red, then you'll probably like Red just fine. And if you're a Netrunner who can live without quick hacking, you really are probably just going to be fine in the Time of the Red. Because, like, at least as of now, until we get the rules for deep diving, there's no other differences between the two eras for Netrunners. So, yeah, I think that there's, plenty of good stuff in both. And it's so easy to retrofit, I think, adventures from one to the other. That's the other thing. Like, it doesn't take much tinkering to bring an adventure from the Time of the Red into the 2070s, or even vice versa, honestly. Like, you could flip them around on their head and it'd work just fine.
So, yeah, either way, like, I don't see there being really so much of like a divide in the community. So I wouldn't worry too hard about that, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna have the 2077 set without Red. Red will always be there because that's the engine. You have to have the engine before you can drive the car.
You don't think anyone wants to run Reaping the Reaper with quick hacks? Speak for yourself. I think that sounds fucking awesome, if I'm being honest. I think that sounds incredible.
Oh gosh, the Reaper has quick. Oh, give the Reaper. Oh,
dude, that would be so cool. Like,
that would be terrifying. No, look, I got a little bit of PTSD from Reaping the Reaper. Just just casually making my way downtown and suddenly drones.
Oh, dude, no, Reaping the Reaper with quick hacks. Honestly, Shocky, thank you for presenting such a great idea. I will run that at some point in the future. Just to illustrate the point that I think that is fine to do with quick hacks involved. 100%. I think that's just fine. You got killed by the hacking AI. I mean, the thing is, the AI can't quick hack. It's not really connected in that way.
The Reaper is capable of all things the Netrunners are capable of.
Yeah, but unless it has a cyber deck that is capable of connecting outward, it can't. That's the beauty of it. So, like, if you refactor that to include it, sure. But the nice thing about Netrunners is you have this lovely option called Self-Ice to help make it harder.
So the Reaper would have to hijack someone with a cyber deck.
Yeah, I will run this. I will 100% run this. I will refactor this and I will run this.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
I might have to take a pass on that, because I will. Man, Reaper's already tough enough as it is. I don't need to be getting sniped out of a security camera.
We're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh no. Oh, no.
Oh yes.
I just want my Time of the Red without Netrunners looking at each other, making them flop over.
But that's the best part. Like, running a system reset is just so good. It's so good. I'm sorry I said anything since Shocky. I've got both chats pulled up right now. I'll have you know, Shocky. I can see you apologizing to Diamond. No, don't apologize. It's a great idea. I am so happy you gave it to me. Thank you. So with that, we're just about at an hour 30 here for my side of the episode. So Diamond, any final thoughts here before we sign off for the week?
Not really, but I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to try to get things lined up, and seeing how we don't have much going on, next week because I don't have campaign. I'm going to try my best to see if we can get something lined up with Tomas for next Wednesday morning.
Okay.
How's that sound? Sweet.
Yeah, we might be able to arrange that.
Yeah.
I don't see a massive issue with that on my end, I don't think. But yeah, we'll see. If we can't,
Neato.
If we can't, then whatever. But yeah. And then next week, episode ideas.
You know what? Yeah, let me break that open here. Actually, where is that note? Let's see. Well, I'm thinking if we if we do interview Tomas, do we want to talk a little bit about Blade Runner?
Well, I would imagine if we interview Tomas, well, number one, that probably won't be like live on stream. We're going to talk plenty with him about Blade Runner. I would imagine that'd be our whole interview with him.
Episode 4 running to it, but I was thinking something here. I was thinking about talking about like enemies and tactics, like when it comes to different kinds of kinds of situations, like how to make effective enemies. Was something I wanted to actually talk about in the near future.
How to make effective enemies. Okay. Ooh, okay. Well, on that same topic then, opinions and takes on the major cast of Cyberpunk within the context of Red. So like we could talk about any character from any era as they kind of relate to back to the focal point of Red. Like how Red sets up certain characters for the future, how it honors ones that came in from the past. That could be a fun little one to add on to enemies and things like that.
That sounds actually pretty good.
Awesome. All right. Well, chat, and anyone else who is watching this later on either Spotify or YouTube, you can look forward to that for our topics next week. But that then I believe is going to do it for us. So again, my name is Emmerron.
I'm Diamond Dust.
And I hope all of you have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon wherever you're in the world. Stay healthy, stay safe. Till next week, guys. Peace.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.